And now it's time for RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester.
Hey, everybody. Glad you could be with us. Apologize, it's been a few weeks since we've last shared our studio with you, but we are back and all is well. We're in studio as usual with Sasha, Jack, and myself.
Hello.
And we are doing another hour of RoadWorthy Drive, and you're lucky to be with us behind the scenes. In breaking news for this hour, we're going to talk about the equivalent of automotive crack. That's right. There is a new car out that if speed is your addiction, this car will be your new drug. And there's some detractors. There's some people in the automotive trades that don't even want it on the road. We're also going to talk about something that you may not be aware of regarding crude oil production and natural gas production in the United States. It is not what you think. So you're going to want to tune in for that. Later on, Jack, Sasha, and I are going to have a conversation about our autonomous world and some thoughts to ponder. It's what happens when you are sitting in line at a fast food place at 1:45 in the morning. Thoughts, though. We're also going to talk about a new synthetic fuel that is made from regenerable sources and actually uses CO2 to make the fuel, but doesn't emit any. So it actually removes CO2 from the atmosphere. And then finally, if we have time, and I know you've been wanting this, it's time for your flying car update. Been a while. There is news. I'm going to talk to you about it. So we're glad you could be with us. Welcome again to RoadWorthy Drive behind the scenes on YouTube Live with Jack, Sasha, and myself. And we're going to do what we do. 11 minutes, sir?
11 minutes, sir. Here we go.
Okay, let's do it.
Do you want to go faster? Yeah!
It's RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester. Ken loves talking about cars and automotive trends. And here he is, the automotive host with the most, Ken Chester.
I do love talking about cars, and if you do too, welcome to another hour of RoadWorthy Drive, America's premier automotive news and information talk show. I'm your host, Ken Chester. Trust me when I tell you this is not your father's car show. I talk current news, automotive trends, and technology in a way that's easy to understand, even if you're not a hardcore car person. I also share tips and insights about topics that will help you today, like how to shop for a new used vehicle or how to finance it, even what you need to know about car insurance. Me and my team do the basic research so that you will always be on solid ground when you go out into the marketplace. With all the news and information regarding technology in and around the automotive industry, it's easy to get lost in the jargon. Here at RoadWorthy Drive, we break that down into what you should know, and more importantly, what you need to know. Spend some time with me each week, and let me turn you into a better informed consumer. Now, in a few minutes during breaking news, I'm going to introduce you to the equivalent of automotive crack, yeah, I said that, and one publication's efforts to ban it from the street, as well as America's renewed dominance in oil and gas production. During the next segment, me and the RoadWorthy Drive crew will debate some of the finer points to consider in our fast-approaching autonomous world, and later report on one German automaker's research into renewable, emissionless gasoline and diesel fuel. For those of you that want to add your voice to the conversation, call or text me at the RoadWorthy Drive line at 872-222-9793. That number is good anytime. If email is your thing, my address is ken@roadworthydrive.com. Either way, we'll connect you with me in the show. I want to hear from you. Now, regular listeners know that it takes a team to bring you RoadWorthy Drive each week. That man at the controls is none other than my good friend and executive producer, Jack DeLeon. Hey, Jack.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
Not too bad. Understood you had yesterday off. Did you enjoy yourself?
I enjoyed myself greatly. I went to a football game yesterday.
Hmm?
The wrong team won.
Yeah, well, that happens.
And it was very cold.
Ah, very cold.
Yeah, northwest wind about 30 miles an hour.
That's not cute.
And I was sitting in the east stands.
Yikes. No
Yeah.
blanket?
No, but we were very layered.
Ah, sometimes you got to be layered.
I think I had 4 layers each on top and bottom.
Did it help?
It helped until the sun went down.
Whoops.
And then it got real cold.
Oh, my.
Okay, Ken. I want you to know this first story you're going to talk about.
Uh-huh.
I had a conversation with the gentleman that I work with during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And the reaction to some of the older guys, I wish I had gotten on tape because you would have loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the Dodge Challenger SRT Demon.
Okay. Well, this is a vehicle that has 840 horsepower.
Hold it.
Yes.
I want this part.
You want this part.
What could possibly go wrong?
I know.
Yeah. Why Dodge? Why the Dodge boys want to do this? Now, the good news, maybe, they're only making 3,000 in the United States. They're going to sell an additional 300 in Canada. That's it.
Okay, a worse place to sell them because of the snow, but go on.
But here's the thing. How many people you think got $84,995 to buy one of these things?
Depends. How many friends do they have?
Not that many, and B, somebody told me this. I don't know whether it was you or not.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to see one of these sitting in your local Dodge dealer, and you ain't going to be able to get near it.
Well, first of all...
Unless you buy it first. They ain't going to let you drive it.
Oh, no. You're not driving it. You're lucky to sit in it in the showroom. You might not even be able to do that.
That's true.
Also, yeah, you ain't driving this thing unless you probably bought it and have proof of insurance.
Correct.
Too many accidents. Heck, you'd think Dodge would have learned with the Hellcat. 707 horsepower, and guys were buying these things and wrapping them around trees like minutes after they picked them up from the dealer.
And, and telephone poles.
Yes.
Let's not forget that.
Now, for the record, I drove one. Put my foot in it one time. Spent the rest of the day apologizing to the car.
I'm sure you did.
I said, I'll never do that again. Ever.
A little too much horsepower.
Wait, now, brother, I feel the need for speed, okay? But that was too much.
Okay, are you telling me that put the fear of God in you?
Way more than I care to want to admit.
Okay.
I think I might have seen Jesus himself.
Okay.
Yeah, that was scary stuff. Now, here's the thing that bothers me. Now, Automotive News is talking about, oh, we want to ban this car, it's unsafe, all this. Excuse me, sir. Tesla Model S, earlier this year, Motor Trend, a stock Tesla Model S.
Okay.
With ludicrous mode, because we talked about it here.
Hold on.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, here we go. We've had to have
Ludicrous speed! Go!
This should teach you never let me in the production room by myself.
And yeah, ain't that the truth? Anyway, the ludicrous mode Tesla Model S turned in a 0-60 time of the same. I didn't remember hearing Automotive News wanting to ban that car.
Well, but also if you look at it too, there's a Camaro out there with 660 horsepower.
650, yeah.
You do not need that kind of horsepower.
There are Corvettes, Mercedes-Benz AMG cars, BMW M Series cars that have, oh my God. And that don't even include like McLaren and all those, which are even, yeah, no. You can't even breathe on those things for less than $500,000.
No, you can't.
And they're crazy. So, you know, I don't know why they're hating on, you know, the Dodge. Not sure what that's about, but it's happening. Let's talk about something else.
Okay.
What if I told you that the United States of America is on track to be the world leading producer of crude oil and natural gas?
I would tell you that that's probably true because I've heard that over the last few years. We also know now that we're the largest producer of natural gas.
Right now. Now, here's the thing. Up till 1970, they said they believed the folks in that field, in the oil industry, believed that the United States had reached their top production of crude oil and natural gas from sources in the United States back in 1970. They called that peak oil.
I remember that.
Thanks to, whether you like it or not, fracking, shale oil deposits in North Dakota,
modern technology
in what used to be played out oil fields down in Texas and Oklahoma. We now produce so much crude oil, we actually export some lightly processed crude to other countries right now. That's happening.
And aren't we shipping our natural gas over east?
Well, what's happening right now with natural gas is the EPA for some time have been pushing electric producers, electric companies, to switch from coal to natural gas.
Right.
Well, with natural gas being so cheap and less polluting, coal becomes not an option, which is a whole nother issue. But the thing is and I want to make this point, that the International Energy Agency said that we will be the undisputed leader in crude oil production by 2025.
Okay, realizing that you just said that, with all the technology and all the autonomy that we've been talking about, aren't we a little late to the party?
Indeed, we are. But here's the thing. And you still have other sources for it, like power plants and that. So natural gas will continue to be in demand. Crude oil is kind of ironic that here we are now in a situation where, with tightening fuel economy standards, tightening emission standards, that it may be a moot point in 10, 15 years.
Okay, now I got one question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How is this going to affect the shipping industry?
With respect to?
They burn diesel all day long.
Well, it depends on what happens. We will be talking in shows to come, particularly about advances for heavy equipment. And they're going both autonomous and they're going electric. And here's something most people don't realize. The heavy hybrid vehicles have been moving heavy loads for 70 years. All your railroad diesels are diesel electrics. They're hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
That the diesel engine turns a traction motor. It doesn't directly turn the wheels. An electric motors turn the wheels. And railroads have been hauling weight since the 1930s with diesel. In fact, those engines were so powerful, it put the steamers out of business.
Yes, it did.
Because the tractive effort on the diesels, they could do it so much cheaply and so much lower cost per mile. So that's nothing new.
But have we yet to see an engine in a ship that is strictly all electric?
I can't speak to ships right now, but where the technology is, I would not be surprised. And here's one caveat. Saudi Arabia is taking their whole economy and working to move it away from oil. Think about that. And they were the world's producer of the stuff. So, next up, our autonomous world thoughts to ponder. Later, Audi researches carbon-free e-fuel. You're cruising with Ken and RoadWorthy Drive.
Want more than your share of the road? Be sure to check out RoadWorthy Drive on Facebook.
Now, I got an issue with the IEA where they actually talked about, further in this column, the growing importance of electricity in the energy market could support rising demand for cleaner burning gas, but this growth is not certain because much of the infrastructure needed for gas-fired power generation is not yet in place in developing countries. But here in the United States, it's growing like a weed. And they talk about competition is rising for wind and solar power. In my travels in the last 2 weeks, I've seen wind farms and solar farms. And in fact, I saw several solar farms in a place you wouldn't imagine.
Where?
Massachusetts.
What?
Solar farms.
You're right. I would not have.
Solar farms. And they weren't small. Across New York State. Yeah, it's a thing.
But aren't they trying to lighten the load, so to speak, off of the grid out there?
Everywhere. And when we get into it, we'll be talking later on, not this show, but in our next show, of vehicles that are designed to actually feed power back into the grid.
Yeah, but we've talked about that before.
Yeah, but it's becoming a bigger deal now.
I mean, and we actually did, like, the interview with the couple that's exactly what they did, like their car.
But not just the couple. This is actually, they're building, automakers and others are looking at fleets of vehicles that will not only charge, but be available to feed the grid for demand, either by a neighborhood or a company or even a school.
How long ago did we talk about that?
Oh.
Was it a month or so?
Hard
No,
to
it
say,
was
'cause
right around the electric car week that we did.
That would be September.
September.
Okay, so in 2 months, it's gone from, okay.
Theory.
This is going to be either theory. Now it's a thing.
Yeah.
No, this has been a thing for some time. What's happening, most of what we talk about every week happens, the news breaks that week.
Yep.
We're not breaking stale stuff.
Nope.
Matter of fact, the biggest challenge I have every week is bringing down the amount of stuff to talk about to fit in a show, because there's way more out there breaking, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. This tech is moving at such a rate that we're struggling to keep up just to share it with you.
And then
we're only taking the high bit.
Yeah, because, I mean, you have to get your sources from everywhere, and it's astounding all throughout the week, and sometimes Friday as you're putting the show together.
Happens.
What are you going to bump versus what are you going to talk about?
Yep. So, never ends. So we are going to set, when Jack is ready, 9 minutes, right?
9 minutes, sir.
When you're ready, sir.
Okay, here we go.
Have you ever wondered how the man who drives a snowplow drives to the snowplow? This one drives a Volkswagen. So you can stop wondering.
If you're just tuning in, welcome to segment 2 of this hour of RoadWorthy Drive. I'm Ken Chester. Regular listeners of this program know that for the last 2 years, I've been talking extensively about the evolving technology surrounding self-driving vehicles. I've talked about the standards being used across the industry, dabbled in discussions about pending legislation regarding autonomous vehicles, even interviewed one state's Department of Transportation officials with regard to their approach to the issue. But what we really haven't talked about is the impact of the coming tsunami of technology and the change that is now starting to affect our lives in a small but increasing number of ways. And I thought that me and the crew might ponder during this segment a little bit about our autonomous world and maybe our electrified world and some of the things that, you know, we get to report about a lot, but we really don't get a chance to ponder. So I thought I'd ponder a little bit. Now, what started for me, and I started to wonder, a couple nights ago, I was getting fast food. It was about 12:45 in the morning, 15 minutes before the place closed, and I'm sitting in line.
Yeah, aren't you, isn't that a little late for your bedtime?
It is, but there I was.
Okay.
And I started to wonder. I said, autonomous cars. What would an autonomous car mean for fast food places in general, restaurants in particular, and the whole bit? I mean, things that right now depend on interaction with a motorist in their car.
You're still going to have the motorist.
But what does that mean? But what does that mean?
Somebody in the back of the car.
Okay.
All right.
But what does that mean if I'm in an autonomous world? Then why do I need to go to the food? Why can't the food come to me?
Oh, this just gave a whole new meaning to like those taco trucks.
Well, even more. Think about
You know what I mean? If it was like an autonomous driving, and then they could actually go, like if I could order that wonderful couple that make those tacos on that street corner, and I can get them at my house, and not have to travel to Ames to get them, that would be.
Or let me pitch this a different way.
Okay.
Right now, today, there are companies that go around to restaurants if you want something, and you buy it from them, and they'll deliver it to you.
Right, and they charge a fee on top of that.
Right. Imagine if That vehicle now is autonomous and available 24/7.
Okay.
And because of competition, they get it down to where it's a decent price. Even if you live out in the middle of nowhere, you don't have to go. If you've got a taste, God forbid, but you got a taste of McDonald's. Right now, you got to drive to the drive-thru if you don't want to get out of your car.
Are you bashing McDonald's?
No, I'm just making a point.
Okay.
Or Burger King, or Wendy's, or Taco John's, or pick one, any
Olive Garden.
which doesn't have drive-thru, by the way.
No, it doesn't.
But
I love
imagine
Olive Garden.
if you could put the restaurant industry on its ear.
You would be putting them on their...
Because, or even I have access to an autonomous car. I tell it, go pick me up a hamburger. I don't have to be there. So the question is, how does my autonomous car relate? Or maybe I do it on an app, so it knows when it gets there that is for me. I mean, and this is just one of many things I'm thinking about. Grocery stores, malls.
Well, the grocery stores right now, at least around here, are offering a delivery service. Or you can go into the store and your groceries are already ready for you.
But guess what? If I use an app, I don't have to set foot in there because groceries, most of us buy the same type of stuff.
Right.
And if they get this perfected and it's reasonable, could eliminate me needing to go to the store. Remember, we reported earlier, a number of months ago, that going fully autonomous in the United States would free up, and I quote, 22,000 square miles of parking. I didn't say acres. I said square miles of parking space.
But yet here we are in 2017, and we have a brand new parking garage going up in our downtown.
We have several. They're going to be obsolete in 15 years.
Really?
Yeah, they are.
So what you're telling me is that the car's going to drop me off, and I'll use our entertainment district here.
You may not even drop you off.
Okay, wait a minute.
It depends. If you're coming in for entertainment,
I'm saying that I'm going to go down to my favorite spaghetti place down in Cordell. Okay? The car's going to drop me off and leave. I don't have to worry about parking. I just got to get out of the car, walk in the front door, and I'm there.
And it depends on your mobility choice. Do you own the car? Are you paying for time? Are you sharing it in your neighborhood? It may go to a storage area or a holding area. Or if you're paying for time, it goes maybe 2 doors down and picks somebody else up and goes on its way. We also talked about a survey that the average autonomous car would see 6 times the mileage. Average mileage today is 15,000 miles.
Right.
You go 6 times, that's 90,000 miles a year. That means you can cut down the number of vehicles owned by people by a factor of 6 times.
Well, I mean, that completely makes sense because while you're sleeping, while you're working, your car could be out there making money for you. Or
if it's one you own.
If it's one you own. Or if you just pay for time, like if I just give my schedule to a service and they know that they need to have a car, not necessarily my car, but a car there when I get off work and I plan on going here, there, or whatever. They know that car could go out there and serve multitude of people's needs.
Which brings down the cost of the service.
Yep.
Which makes it more affordable. Meaning, if you are a person of low means, that mobility for you may be having access to that service for a small fee to get you back and forth to work, which would be more cheaper, more precise than any bus route, taxi cab service, Uber, or anything. Imagine that. But let me throw this at you. With all that going on, if mobility, and we've talked about the definition of mobility being so much bigger now.
Right.
Imagine a neighborhood with no garages.
Yep. Why would you need one?
Exactly. What does that do for the layout of the neighborhood? What does that do for the value of real estate? What does that do for the density of people living? How does that change apartments and everything? There's a lot going on here, folks.
It changes an awful lot. Having been in the construction business for many years, I can tell you it's changed a lot.
Yeah, and it's going to drop the demand for cement.
Yeah.
So, coming up, Audi perfects emissionless gasoline and diesel fuels, and for the final segment, your flying car update. Don't touch this dial. This is RoadWorthy Drive.
Roadworthy Drive. Like us on Facebook.
One thing, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it. Bob Lutz says the individual ownership is dead in, what, 20 years?
20 years?
He's early. He's early.
You really think he's early?
He's early, by 5 to 10 years. Here's what's going to really happen.
You think it's going to be 25, 30 years before individual ownership is gone?
There's some modules that put them out like 45.
One choice. That's the thing.
Right.
What you're going to have is you're going to have a menu, and we've always said this about mobility.
Yep.
Mobility is going to be a menu. At one end will be the traditional individual ownership, and there'll be some people that will still do that.
That will be.
It will be a dwindling number for a variety of reasons, and market will dictate what that vehicle or those vehicles will look like.
Yep.
But it will be, instead of being 95% or 90% like it is today, it might be 10, 15, 20%.
Yeah.
What you're going to see is a change in the mix. It's going to be a mix of choices. And it will be dictated. Obviously, if you're in a low-density situation where these sharing services are not practical, then chances are higher, like Montana, Idaho, and the West, that you may actually, getting outside of cities, may own a vehicle still for longer. But even that vehicle, whatever it is, whatever it looks like, will change. It will most likely be electric. It will most likely be multifunctional. It will most likely be autonomous.
Yep.
So you're still going to get touched by it, by all that. You may own it, but it's not the only choice.
Well, and let's look at another way, though. If you decide, if you make the choice that you are actually going to buy a fully autonomous vehicle, you are in a position where now your car can make you money. If you're living in the wild, in Montana or outside of a major metropolis, if you're living out there, okay, where actual services are not available necessarily, what is to stop you from saying, hey, I've got this available? And I'm not saying like social media, but some kind of networking application. I've got this vehicle available. I work a 9 to 5. If you need to have this vehicle take you from here or there, and it could just be friends. It could be like a family owns one.
You know what will happen? That will be an app that somebody will create for people in that situation that have an autonomous car, may still own it,
right,
but said, you know what? It doesn't make sense for this thing to be parked. I mean, the days of parking a car for 140, 150 hours a week and making these crazy payments is going to look so silly in 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay, you just brought up a point that I want to make.
Okay.
If we get to the point where we get the autonomous car.
Oh, we're there.
We're there.
Okay, that's not an if.
When it rolls out, is that payment on that car going to be less money than we're paying now?
I think it's going to be more.
No.
I don't. How can it be more with this as crazy as the prices of cars have gotten in the last 5 to 10 years?
Because
wait a minute. But the problem is you guys are still thinking one-dimensionally, both of you. This is going to be multidimensional. We've seen the tech. Tech is spinning at a rate so fast that there's so many piece parts. Okay? The question is, what does ownership even mean in 30, 40 years? It won't mean what it does today. Also, in the case of what Sasha shared about, if you have the ability to rent, lease, share, make money when you're at work on this vehicle. And by the way, Tesla's in the process of doing that right now, setting them up right now. That's happening right now. They'll perfect it, and I totally believe that folks in rural areas, they'll develop an app for those people with that situation where, okay, I'm the one maybe in a 5-10 mile radius, I live in a small town, I have an autonomous car, but I work close enough, or I don't use my car on these days, and you literally can time it of this vehicle is available during this period. So you'll be able to control that. Cost becomes moot because here's the mitigating thing. On the one hand, more cost. Why? Higher technology. On the other hand, less cost. Why? The things that are built in right now for the average human driver won't be needed.
And he does have a point. However, I am banking on the greed of companies. I think that they are going to jack up the price for the autonomous vehicle in 30 to 40 years because less people are going to own it. Now, granted, they might make up more of their money in the fleet type scenario. So Uber orders so many from Ford, somebody orders so much from someone else. But eventually, when we stop quibble-quabbling over whose
Horsepower, color.
No, not necessarily that. I'm talking more fundamentally. When we start quibbling over whose software is going to be used, what GPSing system, what laser system, how the cars communicate to the outside world.
Oh, let me help you with that.
When we
National Traffic Highway Safety Administration.
Exactly.
That's going to be moot in 2 to 3 years.
Right.
They've already moved towards that and gave the industry a hard shove. What you're talking about is the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, and NHTSA. That's a moot point.
But my point is, when we get rid of all that, when there's no longer the competition of, like you were going into, horsepower, color options might actually be a thing, but it's not going to be as much of a thing. But when you lose all of that, there's not going to be, like we talked about last week, there's not going to be need for, the performance-type vehicles. Everything's going to be uniform. It's all going to be the same vehicle pretty much out there.
Let me throw this at you. What's going to happen?
I mean, there might be the performance ones for like if they're going to be traveling instead of airfare.
There will be performance ones because there'll still be a part of the population that want to pay for performance. It will be electric. It will be autonomous. But they'll be there. Here's the thing. Number one, you have way fewer automakers, way fewer insurance companies. That's a fact. And I can name at least 3 that are going to go away in the next 10 years.
What?
Yes.
Are you talking about somebody that might be in trouble like right now?
Right this minute. Oh, yeah, I am, but we'll save it for now.
Give me a hint.
No, I'm not going to go
They
there.
released a really ugly-looking truck.
Oh, now, don't even start. Don't even start.
Hold on. You want a hint? Yes, please. How long can you tread water?
Yeah, there you go. Here's the thing, and then we're going to move on.
We got to go.
I know, but here's the final thought for you. In this brave new world, Henry Ford made his money not by charging the most he could charge, but charging the least he could charge.
Right.
This is going to be the same thing. You're going to have fleet companies like Avis and Enterprise move from rental. In fact, if you watch Enterprise commercials now, you see where they're moving.
Yep.
If listeners and watchers remember, we talked about Waymo in Arizona, and I believe it was Hertz that actually has a contract for maintaining those cars to Pacificus. So the those rent-a-car companies are going. It was Avis, not Hertz.
Thank you.
They're going to evolve. This whole thing is going to evolve. What we don't know sitting here is how. What I do know is that it's not going to be any one thing. It's going to be a multitude of things, including things right now as we talk haven't been invented yet. It's going to happen. And it's happening in real time, which is why this show is so important, because we're trying to share that and give people that impetus that the technology is moving faster than you realize. And that, dear watcher and dear listener, is the point. It's moving way faster than even you realize. Hence, we're here. Okay. We are at 9 minutes. Third segment.
Yep.
And that's why you tune into Behind the Scenes.
For real.
Right there.
Who?
I was saying that's why you tune into Behind the Scenes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Party time, people. 9 minutes. Third segment. This is the third segment of this hour of RoadWorthy Drive. Thank you for dropping by. I'm Ken Chester, your host. For those of you that need or want more of your share of the road, check out the show website. That's www.roadworthydrive.com. There, find audio clips of past shows, videos of our weekly behind-the-scene antics and hijinks in studio and more. The website is also a great place to check out our adventures across social media. Sasha, our social media maven, keeps things interesting, light, and lively, seeing how she keeps the social in our social media. Now, I want you to imagine something. Imagine this. Gasoline that is completely based on a renewable source that doesn't pollute, doesn't even emit any greenhouse gases. This fuel will run in your current vehicle without any modifications. That'd be a game changer, wouldn't it?
I would think so.
I'm interested.
Okay. If only it was true. Well, buckle up, Roadworthy Drive listener. It is true. And it's a German automaker that is producing such a fuel right now.
Okay, which automaker?
Audi.
Which is owned by Volkswagen.
Yes, sir. That is true.
Who is having all kinds of trouble with their diesel engines.
Well, they were. They've got their checkbook open and they've been paying.
Okay.
But here's the irony. Audi is developing a synthetic fuel. They've been working on it for years. That takes water, breaks it down into oxygen and hydrogen, takes CO2, which is a greenhouse gas and a problem, combines it together, and makes a hydrocarbon out of it. Gasoline. And they're doing the same for diesel.
Okay. How does this help the pollution?
Because it removes a greenhouse gas. It doesn't have any carbon deposits like gasoline currently does into the atmosphere. And it actually works to clean up the air and to lower the risk and to keep climate change from becoming the problem that it looks like it's becoming.
I still don't buy the climate thing, but that's okay. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, there's a whole body of science that begs to differ with you, sir. And in fact, I'll go you one more. If you go back 20 years, Volvo actually had a radiator that was coated with a metal that removed CO2 from the air as it drove. The vehicle actually cleaned the air as you drove it. Let that sink in. This is not new. My concern is not, I don't have a lot of mercy for the oil refiners.
Okay.
I do have some mercy for those men and women across our fruited plain that grow corn that gets turned into ethanol. If Audi can successfully bring this up to scale, and if, because the article that it talked about, excuse me, did not talk about octane, didn't talk about fuel economy, and didn't talk about BTUs. Now, the challenge with ethanol as opposed to regular unleaded is that although it burns cleaner and although it burns cooler, it doesn't have the BTU kick of regular gasoline. It's a little less. And studies have shown that you're going to get 7 to 10% less fuel economy burning a tank of ethanol. The offset is it's cheaper. The offset is that it's partly renewable, depending on whether you're E10 or E85.
Okay.
So there are some advantages there. The problem is, with everything going with autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, battery-powered vehicles, hydrogen-powered vehicles, all things we've talked about, including compressed air and even solar-powered vehicles. Not a good time to be making ethanol. Just saying.
So you're thinking in the next 10 to 15 years, the places that are making ethanol will no longer be in business?
I think that the industry, depending on what Audi is able to do, and there are a lot of ifs, they're building this plant to scale up their activities. There's a lot of questions. One, what's the octane of this stuff? Two, will this synthetic fuel generate the type of BTUs in current regular unleaded gasoline or even ethanol, what we call E10, which is 10% ethanol-based gasoline? If the octane falls short, it's a moot point because then it's not viable. If the cost is high, again, moot point, not viable.
But don't you think it will take a longer time for that to get here since they based that plant, I believe, in Sweden?
No. Switzerland, and no.
Really?
Technology, my friend. At the rate of speed of technology, once you've got the process down, you license the process. And then that plant can be built anywhere.
So you're thinking that maybe one of the oil giants here sees this and goes, okay, we better go this way.
That's a possibility, but it's not guaranteed. Again, big questions. The big questions, like I said, what's the octane? What's the BTU? What's the fuel economy?
Will it burn in the car?
The fact
damage the engine.
Okay, those answers no and no.
Okay.
They already know you can burn this stuff in anything now, right now. So that's not an issue. Will it damage it? No. Why? There's nothing there. The problem with ethanol is alcohol. It's an acid. It's corrosive. That's part of the problem. Which is why when you go E85, why you need special fittings and why you just can't burn E85 in anything, because the fuel system has to be conditioned for it, designed for it. But again, mostly renewable. So there's some advantages there. We're going to keep an eye on this, really, because a lot of questions, a lot of potential. Imagine if you can make gasoline out of water, which is basically what they're talking about. And that plant they're talking about doesn't only do that, it generates a lot of other stuff as a result of their processes. But if you can imagine pulling CO2 from the air, which goes a long way towards reducing greenhouse gases and overall pollution, that actually, by using this gasoline, by making this gasoline, actually improves the environment. That would be amazing, particularly if they could bring this in and make it work. And in what they're looking at is coupling it. They call it energy sector coupling, where they're coupling power, heat, and mobility. I'm not going to get into the weeds about all the science behind it, but there's added benefits from the process that's not just limited to this. So we here at RoadWorthy Drive, we're going to keep our eyes on this Audi project, see what they do, see if those questions get answered, and see what the impact might end up being. Obviously, big prospects. If you can produce gasoline that doesn't pollute and it's renewable, it kind of puts a dent in your electric vehicle ventures, since the infrastructure is already there. And that's something indeed to consider. And that's the big deal. And it's the irony. It's the ultimate irony. Audi and Volkswagen are in the process of spending $2 billion to build electric infrastructure and bring electrified vehicles to market, yet Audi is working on this.
Sounds like they got their hands on everything.
You almost have to, with where the technology is going nowadays. You'd be crazy not to. For the last segment, your flying car update. For those of you who want to keep abreast of what's up, RoadWorthy Drive is heard on the RoadWorthy Drive Radio Network.
Go to RoadWorthyDrive.com to check out Ken's blog, listen to past shows, and the times when you can see the show on Facebook Live.
YouTube Live, folks, but you know, real time, lots of fun.
Hold on, I think we screwed up.
What? We screwed up. What happened?
You started talking before I shut the recording off.
And the times when you can see the show on Facebook Live.
Yep. Thank you. Hey, no, you did. Hang on, I can fix it. Fixed. I'm just that good.
You are. No argument, boss. No argument.
You know, we're going to have to figure out one time, Ken, how to do something for YouTube Live that you think the mic's off, the mic's are on, so they can hear some of our conversations. It could be a little dangerous, too. He just sort of shakes his head.
For a different reason entirely.
I'm sure.
Passing notes in class.
Yes, we are.
Passing notes.
As long as the teacher doesn't catch us.
I know, right? Thankfully, there's all these monitors and everything that keeps us obscured.
Well, you know the suits are looking.
Well, as long as, yeah, but it's not spitball, so hey.
Hey, there you go. Sir, I am ready if you are.
I'm not. I'm getting paper sorted and whatnot.
Look at all that research, people. Do you see all that? I wish that monitor was not in your way. You should see the piles upon piles
Oh, now stop it.
that he puts together.
Have you seen his office?
I have maybe once or twice, but never like when he's in show prep mode. It's already,
Yeah, his recycle bin is full every week.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm just curious, how much paper do you go through a week?
I will tell you this. Warehouser and I are on speaking terms. They're on speed dial with the plant.
Yeah,
okay?
he's got stock in warehouses.
Because I noticed that you not only do you do your research, but you print off every article, and then you're highlighting like little tidbits
And write notes.
Right.
That's what I do.
I can
Georgia Pacific has a salesperson dedicated just to me.
just to you.
Yes.
Okay,
Does
now
that
it's
help?
getting deep in here.
It might be 8 minutes, 50 seconds.
8:50, sir.
Okay, I am ready when you are. Fourth and last segment. Party time for reals.
Meet George Jetson. His boy Elroy. John and Judy. Jane is right.
This is not a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. If you're just joining us, it's the flying car update to the last segment of RoadWorthy Drive. I'm Ken Chester, having a little fun there. Ever since the cartoon series The Jetsons back in the 1960s, the public has been teased with the possibilities of flying vehicles. And most of you probably recognized that theme song, which says volume since it's over 50 years old. While they have not reached the convenience and sophistication of George Jetson's machine, briefcase carried in, put it, not yet. It has become a thing. With upstarts, engineers, and even commercial aircraft companies actively designing, building, and testing prototypes. It's been a while since we've talked about these magnificent flying machines, and I thought I'd give you an update. Want to shake your world a little bit, and I'm going to start with this announcement. Volvo's parent company bought a flying machine upstart.
Really? Which one?
They bought the one, Terrafugia. We reported on Terrafugia because they, in 2012, actually built and got certified and was selling such a machine 5 years ago.
Yep.
It was called the Transition, a road-ready prop plane with retractable wings, and it got approved from the National Highway Safety Traffic Administration in 2012 that essentially made it street legal. And they even sold a few. What do you think the sticker price was?
Too much.
Give a guess.
100,000?
No.
Less or more?
More.
250,000.
Close, but a little bit more.
300.
Too much. $279,000. And they did sell some. It was more a drivable plane than a flying car, but met the thing. Bear in mind, 5 years ago.
Right, and if I remember reading something this week in my looking on Facebook and other places, there's a whole bunch of upstarts that are just getting ready to let this stuff out and try to get it certified.
Well, we've been talking about it here for some time, Jack. We talked about the 9 companies that were actively involved, of which Terrafugia was one we actually centered in on.
Right, but the one hang-up to this whole thing has been the following: the air traffic control system.
But we've got something for you on that.
Okay.
But before I get there, I want to call this, the flying car, and where we are now in the auto industry, I want to call it Transportation 3.0.
Okay.
Let me explain. In Transportation 1.0, horse-drawn. You invent the wheel, you get an animal, most likely a mule or a horse, to pull a carriage or something. And that was good through the mid-1800s, from whenever. Then came Transportation 2.0, last part of the 1800s, early 1900s to now. Basically, gasoline-powered, you had a smattering of people trying other stuff, but gasoline and diesel-powered vehicles became standard. That's the way we've been getting around. That's the way we get around pretty much still today. Now, this is the period 3.0, where I call it some of everything. Autonomous cars, electric cars, flying cars, the whole concept of mobility. And that's kind of where we are. Imagine what regular cars looked like 100 years ago. And these prototypes you're seeing for flying cars, that's where they're at. Imagine what they'll look like 50 years from now. Sleek, good, wonderful. Here's the thing. The biggest problem, because you even got commercial aircraft manufacturers like Airbus Industry and Boeing, both developing this stuff. So it's not just guys in a garage with a dream. This is really happening. Now, the beautiful part about this particular sale is that now, with the deeper pockets of Geely, who owns Volvo, and it's a Chinese company, folks, if you didn't know, they'll be able to even go further with what they're trying to do. They said they've tripled the number of U.S.-based engineers, and Geely plans on making even more hires now that the deal is completed. We also talked about something called Uber Elevate, and they added some cities. We had talked about them starting in Dallas in 2020.
Right.
They have now added, if I got this right, I got to see my stuff here, L.A.,
Okay.
and Dubai and Dallas-Fort Worth are the 3 locations that are going to launch this. But here's the kicker to answer Jack's concern. They have signed a Space Act agreement with NASA to create a brand new air traffic control system to manage these low-flying, possibly autonomous aircraft. I'm going to let that sink in.
You're going to have some rules to keep these things away from near the airports.
But here's the thing. NASA has already developed this plan. Uber signed a deal with them to bring it into reality. In other words, technology is moving, again, people, faster than you think.
Well, I'm one of these.
Do we know what model that they have chosen that they're going to be releasing?
Uber is talking to a variety of manufacturers.
Okay.
I think they'll codify it here in the next year or so because they're talking 2020.
Yeah, they're still sticking with that 2020 release date.
Let me give you a quick idea of how Uber thinks this is going to work. Their aerial taxi service. From the perspective of a working mom who just wants to get home to her kids. A passenger books a flight through her Uber app, then ascends to a skyport on the roof of a nearby building. She manages through a turnstile using her smartphone. Security is non-existent in this futuristic version, and is briefly weighed to make sure she's not too portly for Uber's weight-conscious flying taxis. And right there I said, lawsuit! Hello, somebody! Anyway, smiling agents wearing headsets, goggles, and Uber-branded vests lead her and her several other passengers across the roof to their waiting aircraft, which appears to be a plane-helicopter hybrid with fixed wings and tilt-prop rotors. Despite the presence of these whirling blades, no one's hair moves at all. During the flight, she looks out the window with pity at those poor souls stuck in traffic below. As she is whisked through the clouds to her gorgeous, perfect family waiting at home. The closing tagline, it's closer than you think. Remember, people, there are 19 companies doing this right now, and it's closer than you think. As always, it's hard to say goodbye when we have so much more to discuss, but that's going to have to wait till next time, as always. On behalf of myself and the RoadWorthy Drives team, thanks for listening. You've been listening to RoadWorthy Drive.
RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester is a copyrighted presentation of the RoadWorthy Drive Radio Network. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of the Motor News Media Corporation.
You know, I drop a mic, but I get beat up in here.
Oh, don't you
So
get
I'm
me
going to do
started.
this. I'm just saying.
Wow.
Closer than you think. And even Uber said there's been a great deal of progress. It's been hard to see from the outside. Trust me, if Boeing and Airbus are in this, there's something to it. 19 companies. And these are not even Larry Page of Google.
Yep.
Got 2 companies
Yep.
that are doing this. People, it's going to be a thing. And this is the thing we've been trying to share with you all this time, that technology is going fast, and it is happening at such a rate, it's geometric. It's not linear. It's happening all of this. Some of this stuff will interact in ways you expect. Some of this stuff will interact in ways you have no clue. We have no clue. Part of it will be technology. Part of it will be consumer interest or not interest. Somebody will figure out a little babble that will be just the thing to get it over the edge, which up till now it didn't catch. But that one thing suddenly makes it the thing. We don't know where we're going, except it's a heck of a time to want to get around in the world. On behalf of Jack, Sasha, and myself, thank you for watching, and be sure to check us out next time for next hour for RoadWorthy Drive Behind the Scenes on YouTube Live. See you later.